Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Rethink Politics Repo, where we talk about the issues going on with politics in our country and sometimes outside. Shout out to Fat John on the Repaint Tomorrow album. Nice little intro for us. And I'm here with my co-host E. What's going on, brother?
Yo, everything's good. I'm just getting ready for this warm weather.
Finally.
No more shoveling snow. So,
Yeah. That's a relief for at least a little while until we get some freak shit going on, because April usually you get a little something different, but that's all good. And CJ for the hood, what's going on, Chaz?
What's up? I actually got to give a shout out to Abs. Abs really, Abs been kind of MIA.
Really?
But yeah, as the weather gets warmer, I can start running. Hopefully the abs make a comeback, but trying to get sexy right now. That's what's happening.
Let's make May Abs Month. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, make America sexy again.
Make sexy. Absolutely. So today we wanted to. It's an update day. It's just so much going on. Opinions everywhere. People quitting and people actually getting released. But the biggest topic, toe day.
Shit is like the NFL. Like motherfucker cut players, trade players. It's like goddamn.
Damn. It's like transactions and
free market. Yeah, it's
who's next?
Yeah, the free agents in this motherfucker.
Up in this bitch.
You're gonna see Michael Vick in that bitch soon.
I know. So speaking of that, they picked up Vick instead of Kaepernick, right?
Oh no, Griffin.
Oh, Griffin. Damn. Yeah.
Right.
Vic,
I was about to say, like,
Vic running in the parking lot in the show Atlanta and shit.
Oh yeah. You're right.
He could probably ball out still though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He still can. Considering who they fucking got in the NFL, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
But anyway, let's start with the fresh thing, which is Paul Ryan got up and made a public announcement today that he will not be going for re-election in November.
Yeah, and he made a note that he's not quitting, he's not resigning, he's retiring. So he was like, just to make sure we get that part. Yeah, so that people think, so and then it's because
he
of
wants
his
to spend
family.
more time with his family. You know that always means. Yeah. So
that's big, man.
And this is what this show's about. Is about rethinking politics. So speculation, conspiracy theory, what's the opinions?
I mean,
well,
go ahead, Chad.
All right, so when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, okay. So imagine if you're a Republican, the last as of 2016, the last 8 years since January 2009, you're dealing with Obama. You finally get in a rich white dude to do your Republican bidding, and now you quit. So obviously, something has gone awry. Obviously, that something is Trump. So I'm thinking like, well, something got to the point where he can't deal with it anymore, because this is what he's wanted for the longest. He's wanted to push the Republican agenda. So, I mean, that said, the tax deal did get done. As we have to note that the tax deal is adding to the deficit. Same shit he talks about against Obama. That did happen with the although there's growth. The growth may not sustain in terms of covering the deficit and tax revenue. So I think that'll be part of his legacy is, watching the deficit after he leaves as part of that tax deal. Otherwise, I'm like, all the stuff he talked about with his agenda, healthcare, immigration, just other things. I'm just surprised. So obviously something, some shit is about to hit the fan. or it's kind of like at face value. It's like, okay, is it family? Because the motherfuckers only work so much a year.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
And then capitalizing on everything anyway, because all this is a jump start to lobbying. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
private sector.
Yeah, the private sector. You building such a big resume by giving them what they want while they're in, that when they jump off, it's right there for them. So I heard earlier too, before you dig in, I heard earlier he's the 40th representative that said they're going to be retiring. The 40th. That's a lot
since
of people,
Trump's been in?
Yeah. Who said they will not be seeking re-election. So that's a combination of, I think, some Democrats and Republicans. But it's 40 of them saying, look, I'm just getting the fuck up out of here. So there's just a lot of stuff going down that we probably ain't seeing, and probably some stuff that it may leak off onto them, or maybe somebody's getting some integrity issues that's kind of like,
after E goes, after E does his piece, I think I have an analogy that makes sense to everybody. I'll wait till he goes.
So what you got?
I want to hear it now. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, because I'm like, just imagine you at the job. Like this shit happens all the time. So it's no different than any other workplace. It's like, Enron is a bad example, but it's just kind of like you like, hey, did the boss? What the fuck's going on? Insider trading. So if you hear, if there's murmurs of some shit, so it's like if you got a homeboy who works in legal affairs or whatever that is, like, hey, you ain't hear this from me, but 10 motherfuckers going to jail. There's some shit about to go down. Like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden you get, my family and et cetera, motherfucker does a speech, but it's kind of like, there's, consulting, like, hey, we're not going to have that client. What's going to happen? I mean, if we lose that account,
really?
We got to lay motherfuckers off.
Thousands. Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a moment for Paul Ryan, hey, that shit with, hey, in fact, let's think about it. We didn't get to it. I got to jump ahead, but Mueller raided the offices, on Monday?
Yeah, we talked about that.
It's on a Wednesday. This motherfucker talking about he's going to retire. So there's no coincidence. Paul Ryan probably has a homeboy in FBI somewhere. Just like, look, you didn't hear this from me, but,
shit's coming around.
Blah.
Shit's coming around.
Well, so, see, I think, I feel like there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that nobody knows about yet. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think it's about reputation too. I mean, because a lot of these Republicans, some of them are actually, they're not terrible people, but they understand what looks good and what doesn't, and then some know the difference between right or wrong, But I think Paul Ryan kind of looks at it like, he's making him look like. I mean, if your resume right now says Trump administration, if you're sitting here during this regime, this Trump era, you can't sit there and then like act like you're actually doing something. I think this, like, if you just look back at this whole era, this whole Trump, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I think it just doesn't look good. It looks terrible. I think it's just okay. They're gonna look back a couple years from now, like when Trump destroyed the country. Who was the House of Representatives? Who was the
Senate? Who was on the
majority leader of for the Republicans? Who was who was the fourth in line in presidency or third and all that? Like, it's just these names are gonna come in line along with Trump, and it's just, that's not what Paul Ryan's about. And then you actually mentioned it, Chaz, about the tax thing. Paul Ryan's all about the budgeting. The tax budget, and the healthcare, and he's all about the numbers. And I mean, we're adding to that deficit right now with that tax plan. So it's just not looking good. And then if you want to rewind, when they first wanted him, when John Boehner retired or resigned, whatever it was, because nothing was going through Congress. Yeah, Ryan didn't want it, and then he was actually saying the same thing he's saying now about how, he doesn't want to leave his family, and he actually wants to spend time with them. He knows if he went, yada yada yada. So that it makes sense why he's using that again.
It's smart.
In order to
it's smart.
leave. It's smart, and and honestly, look, as a dad myself, maybe he's telling the truth. I can't lie about that, but it could probably be an excuse. I'm sure he can do another 2 years.
But he knows what it is, though. I mean, you can't tell me these politicians don't know that. How long are you going to be in Congress? This is the time that's going away from your family. If he decided to be not the head, then he would be in his state a little more too. But it's almost like he needs to step away just in time for that guy who whispered and say, yo, shit's going to come around. They're going to come see you. They're going to come talk to you. You can give them whatever you want, but long as you out the door by the end of this year, some heads is going to roll. So he's probably I'm gone.
It just hit me too real quick. He might be doing what Hillary Clinton did when she stepped down as Secretary of State. Yeah, and then they kind of chill out, just disappear. You can't affiliate or associate him with Trump after about 2 years or so. You could say I stepped away because I couldn't be a part of this, and then boom, pops up in 2020.
Yeah, and he'll get a lot more support with the same agenda, without the I hate Mexicans.
I like that angle a lot, but I mean, and again, everyone has looked dumb since 2016 because no one thought Trump's ass would be in there. But in terms of a change agent or someone, the whole telling it like it is or relating to, those people, like in terms of job growth, we're at the high paying jobs. So I imagine the people who voted for Trump, how are they doing? Are they doing better just overall? Or would they still like to see someone who's going to, quote unquote, bring jobs back? And I don't think Paul Ryan can sell. I don't know if he can sell what they're buying.
No. Because this guy was a businessman, so it was easy to believe him. But Ryan has stepped up as a politician, and the politicians got a bad, name for themselves now, because even while he's telling them he's trying to bring jobs back, he's blaming that Congress and the rest of them is holding them back from doing it. Yeah. So even those people who are too dumb to realize that he was lying, they're still looking at politicians as being bad. And that's a bad look.
That's what I'm saying.
Just for politicians.
Yeah. That's where Trump comes in. And even you can go back to Obama. That was his claim to fame. He was a newer face, wasn't part of the system yet at that point. Quote unquote, Trump is an outsider, a change agent, quote unquote. Paul Ryan is like, motherfucker, you've been here. What the fuck you gonna do different?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good angle though, because you never know that they say, hey, look, step away, get yourself cleaned up. When you come back, we'll be able to support you as a group, because he's already there with their support. But he's going to have that tag for at least 2 years that said you followed whatever Trump said.
Yeah.
You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah. I don't see. I feel like it's not going to work for him in the long run, just based off of history, because Trump is just going to be so much on that far right, because you know how it works. Obviously, people hated Bush. And then they hated Bush so much that they just got tired of him for one thing, and then what he represented, that they just went far the other way. Even those, in the neutral independents went towards Obama, and then I think that's what's going to happen with Trump. See, the problem with Trump is that, along with the Republican Party, is the longer Trump is in office, and they don't want to believe this, the longer he's in office, the more he's going to destroy their party. Maybe I shouldn't say destroy, but it's just like he's taken over. It's becoming like Trump. What do they call it? Trump land or whatever.
Trumplandia.
Trumpism or whatever. It's becoming. It's just. I mean, he's becoming what that party is, and that's a bad. Like it. And all of a sudden, all it's going to take is fast forward to 2020, and it's going to be easy to be like, okay, so what? We're going to go back to what we hated before Trump. because we didn't like that whole establishment thing. And by the way, this is the guy that was with Trump, agreeing with Trump, like you were just saying. And then it's not going to work. But I do think that's probably what actually that'd be the smart thing for him to do, is to step down
and raise back up,
or make that leap.
Or the obvious thing that I think we all still think, that there's some shit that's going to go down, and he don't want to get no backlash on it.
Oh, it could be all of the above, honestly.
I'm just because I'm still just thinking back to someone selected Paul Ryan as a VP. Was it Mitt Romney?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, you know how just a response to him. I just think Paul Ryan looks weird. You know, he's like a weird looking dude.
Right.
He's not charismatic. You know, I'm just like.
Know. A lot of white women
he had
like
those
him.
Pictures with him with his shirt off, lifting weights, and so they clown the shit out of him with that.
Yeah, but he looks like a strong ass like 10th grader or some shit. Like I would just, I know bullying is bad, but you just want to. I would just throw him in the fucking locker. I don't know.
He just looks like a traditional white dude, like Midwestern.
But I guess he looks modern. Like, you know what? Paul Ryan looks like a character on the fucking Office or something. He looks like, he looks like one of those type modern like a dude you see on TV cast to be like a, like, hey guys, we have the party to like some goofy shit. You know what I'm saying?
Typecast.
Non-threatening, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Well, that's why he'll need to. That's why. Well, I don't think he would win, because that's not what people want. He's the opposite of what Trump is anyway. Like personality wise, it's not gonna. Like he doesn't improvise. He doesn't show any added personality.
Hillary-esque.
Yeah.
On the male side.
Perfect. That's exactly.
On the younger Republican male side, he's just like the. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My fellow Americans.
Yeah, like Pence.
Oh, but well,
so that's just a weird situation going on. But I'm gonna drive this in too, because I wanted to talk about the Syria issue. Once again, Syria is gassing their people, and Russia is supporting them. And the last word that was said was, Russia said, "Do not fly your planes over, or we will shoot them down." Which is crazy, because Trump said no one's tougher than Russia. I'm on Russia than I am, and I'm like, okay, what is this setup going? You know what I mean? Is this a good opportunity to start giving more money to the war machine again? To start doing an arms race like they said they was going to do anyway, because that's the straw man. Hey, look, that's the guy that's going to kill us now too, as opposed to the Mexicans. But then you fighting on so many fronts. So that's a dangerous thing now that we're playing around in Syria.
I think Trump needs to tread lightly, because he's out there tweeting, like trying to bully Russia, because he tweeted something about like how we'll shoot missiles if the best and smart missiles you've ever seen, or I'm paraphrasing on his tweet, but he was basically kind of like
some bravado shit,
calling out Russia and like saying well, basically saying I'll do whatever I want, you better be scared, and it was just kind of like bruh, do you can you be the president for once? Like, that's Russia. That's not North Korea, even though it's, but still, like, come on, bro. Like, the Putin, and then they never responded, at least not to his text. I think that was, it was like some early morning tweet too. So I don't, obviously it was I don't know. None of his shit is advised anyway. He just kind of,
So he's just, it's just spontaneous shit, some braggadocious shit that's coming out to let people know that, oh, I'm going to be tough on them. Didn't you hear my tweet? Yeah. I'm like, come on, man, really?
And then Russia said they blame Israel. They had some F-15s that apparently flew over Syria or into some fly zone or something.
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming they bombed something, but they're blaming Israel for doing it.
So
was an American-led strike too? I think that's also what Russia was saying. They were trying to blame basically the West or whatever.
Right, the Westerners are. This is another conspiracy. But segue into that. I'm not sure if y'all heard this though, but the Israelis bombings, and the United Nations, and no one is really talking about that. And they just bombed them, and there was people protesting and whatever, and they bombed the shit out of them. But it's almost like they're getting a pass because they're Israel. Yeah. So that's why I think, and another reason why Russia took the opportunity to say, look, they bombed the Palestinians over here. How do you know they didn't do this? Because they was on exercise in this area too. So once again, they're doing the, hey, look, let's distract you on this side to make you point the finger over here and say, hey, look, this could be true, goddammit. And this is what y'all Americans love to listen to, anything that's out of the ordinary.
Propaganda shit. Yeah. This is all part of their plan. And all they had to do was just get first of all, if you get America to not believe in the news, that's one. And then you get them a president that is the most unstable, unreliable,
divisive,
quote unquote leader, because he's really not, Right. So it's just like if you just fuck up all the news, you fuck up all the messaging stories, then it's like, who are you going to believe? To the point that Russia could say whatever they want now, because that's how Russia's designed. It's the same way out there with the media. Oh, yeah. I mean, they got their own Fox News, like literally, state media. So it's just they could say that, and then nobody's gonna correct them.
I mean, I'm just thinking back to, I think under Clinton you had Rwanda. Obama's thing was Libya, and it's always a question of intervention. Bush, Iraq. So when you have a country and some shit is going on, it's kind of like, okay, why intervene in Syria versus, shit happens in Somalia or Nigeria or, it's just, or, I'm more so thinking about it from a foreign policy perspective. Do you want to get dragged into a war? Because Assad has been at this shit for, has it been 5 years?
Yeah,
4 years? Yeah. Like, that civil war has been going on for a long time.
But remember, they recently just bombed him. Remember, he sent those Tomahawk.
Yeah, the mother of all bombs, and motherfuckers at it again. Yeah. Like Assad is kind of like, fuck them. Hey, this is my country, and people are like, you crazy. So
that was a different bomb. The mother. First, what happened is, as soon as they found out about the chemical, the chemical shit that they did the first time. They dropped they shot off those missiles. Yeah, and I think it was like 60 something or whatever.
Because it was off a ship. They had all the video about it, and
they were trying to flex on it. And then I don't even know how soon after, but you're right, Chaz. It was like that same. It was the same campaign. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it was ISIS. You know what I'm saying? So they just dropped it and just flex, like, look, we're handling that. And then while he was hanging out with the Chinese president, so it was just
then he was bragging about it.
Yeah, right. That's when he talked about chocolate cake.
Yeah,
that's right. This fat motherfucker. Yeah. See, that's why abs are important.
But he's not handling this one right though. He can't. I mean, actually, all right. Well, just to get back to that the bomb dropping and how it looks. What Trump's trying to do is he wants to look better than Obama, because the same thing happened when Obama was in office, and then the argument was, does Obama send the troops in?
That's what what's the end goal? What's the mission? Okay, because you end up like Iraq. Do you nation build?
Right.
Because what if the people are like, oh, okay, we should be in power. No, we should be in power. Then they start fighting each other on that shit, and it's kind of like. Is the situation better or worse, or do you just stay indefinitely?
Yeah, that's why he was like, let me let Congress decide, because this is a tough decision. The people should decide, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. The red tape, whatever, and then, so now it's just, okay, so Trump is saying, because he keeps bringing up Obama, whenever he makes that decision, like, I'm not going to be Obama and not do anything. So it's like, okay, so what are you going to do? Because now they testing you right now. So what are you gonna do? And you can't. You're right. You can't go in there and go nation building because first of all, Russia's involved. This isn't ISIS
and Iran.
And
you got the
fuck around. And Russia has how many nuclear weapons? How many, Soviet era just shit laying around?
They got a lot of control that stretches out a lot of areas, and then again, and I put in the Iran factor. Is part of the Syrian objective as well. So you got Russia on one side, and we've been trying to go to war with Iran for the longest. But if you mess in any of them, you're dealing with both of them. So it's a really messy situation because our foreign policy has failed as soon as he walked in. Now we wasn't doing a great job with Obama. We was stabilizing some things, but it doesn't mean everything was hunky-dory when he was in. But this guy just destabilized foreign policy around the world with allies. That's the difference. He just took all the allies out of the equation. So whatever he does, it's going to be us just doing shit. And he's just like sending in the cops. Hey, there's a domestic violence in Syria. Send the cops in. All right, we stopped it. And then they leave. He doesn't know what nation building is, because that's not going to be his intent. He's just thinking it's a good opportunity to throw some bombs and look badass, and then people are gonna see, I'm badass, and then he's gonna move out and they be like, wait a minute, you just gonna leave him like that? They was like, this is not our problem, that's not our country, which is a really bad foreign policy.
I think he said something like that too. He said something about how we can't be going into war, we're America first and shit. And that was when he had his little press conference as soon as it happened. I forget what because that's his phrase. It's everything is America first. We're not going to send troops. We'll see what my advisors say, and that is disgusting. And then
so
bullshit.
We're back to, and I think it's a little worse. And I know a couple of months ago we was doing this, and we was more concerned about North Korea. And we was like, oh boy, it's really getting close. What the hell's going on? And then that pushed aside because China intervened on that.
China, you mean? China.
China. And that worked out. It worked itself out in that sense. But this is a direct confrontation with Russia.
Yeah.
And, the thing with Russia, it's all over our country now. I looked at, because I'm a big time follower of 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes had the segment that talked about how they actually hit our systems in about 20 states.
Voting systems, correct?
The voting systems. And Obama didn't want to look biased by saying, they're hitting our system as Russia, while Trump was saying, oh, they look like they're it's gonna be crooked. If I lose, you're gonna know why. And they just softball that shit. And when they softballed it, people didn't take it so seriously, and they never put enough people to combat it. And some areas, especially Illinois, was one of the main areas.
What about like internal? I thought they do like internal memos, because I get not wanting to be biased, but just be like, to like, you get what I'm saying? Like, hey, we're trying to avoid. They did. Oh, you talking about the staff didn't take it serious?
So when it went out, the memo wasn't even hard enough for them. Yo, be aware, because again, if you do that, it's going to get out to the people, and they got Republicans that's going to say, look, see, I told you.
Pounce on that shit. They're trying to fix the election. So if you, on one hand, you try not to look fucked up. On the other hand, you trying to
so it was watered down.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember there were some reports about how they figured out how to combat to stop the hacking into all the states, but the people they needed to warn didn't have the, what do you call it, the security clearance to get all of the information, and they didn't have a way to quickly
access it,
declassify. And it was just too, and because you have to pass like certain like I don't know, executive bills or I don't know how the shit works. But basically, it got too complicated because the way they did it, it just.
You know, that definitely reminds me of, in terms of government, the things people talk about post 9/11, like lessons learned, like having information silos, not working across the law enforcement and intelligence communities and things like that. Like see, and this is why if you have someone else in office, you'd be like, okay, this is what happened before, because we're in new territory. Yeah. This is like from a technology, IT, hacking, privacy perspective, systems perspective. Right. And of course, when new things come up, you develop new processes. Yeah. So I imagine if this was another president, someone would work on that. They have a better workflow because you're going to usually all the way down to volunteers in terms of who's handling like some government people, like volunteers, is handling the voting systems on election day. So how can you communicate information to them in a way that's not, you won't, you get what I'm saying? No, that'll be, compromising anything.
That's tough. I can bet that by the time the Obama administration figured out what was going on, it was way too late, and you just got all these voting stations. I don't know how many there are. I'm assuming it's thousands. I don't know, but I mean, they don't really have an IT team that's like, legit. You're right. Exactly. That's a whole system that you need, like Congress, to put something in to protect all that. And it's just I doubt they even had the army. I mean, it's possible, but that requires like a working Congress, a working government to get everything through.
But it also requires some knowledge of technology.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of the congressional people who are out of touch with technology.
Yeah, they're dumb.
They're just out of touch.
Yeah, in that regard.
They wouldn't even fund it because they don't see the importance of it. All they see is the importance of, hey, privacy in social media. It's not about social media. It's the privacy of data. And they're not taking that seriously. And that's
they don't understand it.
They don't understand it. So let's leave it at, since I don't understand, I'm not going to support it. And you idiot. It's everybody. And guess this was funny too. What's not funny is it's unfortunate. When they actually put it out, it was the same time that the FBI head came up and said, well, Hillary Clinton, we went to research and we didn't find anything that was wrong. So we're just letting you know that. And then a day after that, it was Billy Bush and Trump when they was on the bus. So the news got so clouded with those two things, they missed that, hey, guess what? Russia's fucking hacking us. That was the smallest blip because to the excitable things that's going on. So they went to the integrity or the personalities of the running candidates as opposed to an attack on our country. So the timing was totally fucked up.
No. Yeah, I just don't think our government even understands technology, because everything that's related to technology outside of the military, I think they're just getting it wrong. Like, they don't get it. So every decision that's made, it's either way, way too late, or it's just like they don't do anything because they're afraid of what it may do, because what's worked over the past centuries has worked fine, they believe, so it's just right. Yeah, but that's not how it works. I mean, we're in a totally different society now, totally different country now.
Well, okay, so let me I would see. So if we were president, right? Here's what I would do. I'm curious to see what you guys would do. I would probably. I know Obama had his czars, czar of this, czar of that. To me, this is bigger than like a czar. I'll probably have some sort of czar of privacy or something in integrity. But I think I would create a new cabinet position. I'll probably get rid of one and create another. And have some sort of like IT or something perspective, especially from a government perspective, because basically just constantly making sure things are up to date, have a official government policy on patching, like, hey, okay, going forward, it will be the policy that we can, we will no longer, like, okay, it's 2018. How many government systems are still running Windows 7? Like if you're, or, what I'm saying? Like, hey, maybe let's think about Linux. So we know these are the vulnerabilities in Windows. Let's think about running some Linux systems in these places if you can. Like just an official, basically like a chief technology officer, but for government.
IT director of the government.
Yeah. So direct policy from federal, all the way down to like guidelines for the state. And then of course, how do you incentive? You give like, hey, if you meet our compliance goals, well, you get federal money, blah, 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 versus if you do your own policies,
Now, I know they had something like, I think each agency has something like that.
You got it. It has to come from, I think at this point, the significance of it needs to, like, basically, like, roads are important, right? So that's how, we get transportation. People can go to work. Like, it's important for commerce. And it's important for people to get around, that you have a transportation, what's, what I'm talking about? A cabinet position for that. Energy, cabinet position for, treasury and all that. Like, you have to elevate it to that point so that can be spoken into on that level. Like, it becomes a campaign issue. Like, hey, who are you going to put in your cabinet? So when you talk about energy policy, that kind of goes into that. So from each different cabinet position is basically like a running point. Department of Justice, what's your justice system's policy on, do you reduce drug sentences? How you want blah blah blah. So it kind of forces the candidate to say, how are you on integrity? How do we know our systems are being protected? How can it be transparent?
I think the thing that happened, post 9/11, what post 9/11 did, it brought about the Homeland Security. We didn't have that shit. It had Homeland Security to say this is what needs to be done. So if you're looking at it, and like you said, if I was the president, I have all these technology people that's in Homeland. I have them in the military, I'm in Commerce. I have it in the FCC. I have too much. Everything is fragmented all over the place. So if you have that centralized cabinet member or whatever position it is, it says this is the priority. Military-wise, anything that's technical in that sense, privacy, inner technology, commerce, it goes through us because this has to be controlled. We can't have you over here and them over there, and I'm only looking at my part and you're only looking at that. So I totally agree with that. But I'm going to use the example of the Homeland Security because they put the FBI, the CIA, local under the, the auspice of this, part of the government to say when shit goes down, we know about it. We can grab it. And I don't have to wait on anyone. Y'all got to report to me when it comes to that. I think we need a technology czar, something cabinet, not czar, because czar is temporarily. Because this isn't going to slow down.
Yeah. And well, first, I completely agree with everything you guys are saying. And there's an agency that is supposed to do that. Everything you're saying is supposed to happen. And they have I only know this because as I work for government contractors, I know that each agency has some level of a tech, like a kind of an IT overlord that just kind of watches anything that goes through. They have that for each agency. And then I know there's, and I'm actually looking it up, it's called the General Services Administration, GSA. And they are part of different pieces of the government that runs, like, for instance, FedRAMP. I know that because of a project I was working on with EPA. In order to launch this website, it has to be federally approved. It's kind of like a authorization risk management kind of process that each hosting provider must go through in order to host a government website. So they, so the problem with what's going on is that first of all, it's too fucking complicated. And then they don't have, it's like you say, they need a whole different cabinet, not just agencies that like oversee it. They need more than that. It's almost like it needs to be like the police. I don't know if it should be as big as the military, but there should, how the police has the federal level of overseeing technology, like, there should be, well, then if you want to go further, then there should be state level of technology in that state, but maybe they handle the elections. They handle they just come in and then it's just like, move the fuck out the way. East Rutherford, New Jersey, we got Russia in here. Let's fix your IT shit. Like kind of like that. Maybe they don't need the whole local level, but just kind of a federal and the state.
Almost they can do consulting, kind of. I would actually take it a step further. I would say insulated the same way the Federal Reserve is insulated from politics. Kind of like do the same structure to where you can't have somebody like Trump come in and say, hey, delete everything from 2006 to now, or some bullshit like insulated so that you can't have crazy motherfuckers just say, just some bullshit. So I would definitely also add that I would have some sort of way to say the president's power is also limited in that way. Like there's limited influence just to insulate it from the day-to-day things, just to maintain the integrity of it all.
Right, which is why you would need like a state thing. The state would just have control if they needed to.
So they can connect up. That you got to connect up locally and not wait on them because shit happens all the time.
Well, that's just like the Fed. So the Fed has I think 12 branches, maybe however many branches across the country. In fact, I'll probably think about working closely with the Fed too, just because they're already dealing with finance and technology. They probably already have a lot of good processes to start with, and then branch off on your own. You know what I mean?
But I'm going to get back to what you said, though. I think the biggest issue is our government is so archaic in the way we're running it that it's not even recognizing that technology, one, can protect us. That's a security issue. It's a commerce issue because our money, our resources, the Department of Energy, all of that is connected electronically now. All technology is right there. And they're leaving all of that on the table to say, locally, let them take care of it. And when shit goes wrong, then it's kind of be like, hey, what happened? We have no structure to say what's backing it up. How do we centralize when something does happen? How does the government go down like a FEMA, come down technology-wise and say, hey, look, we already got you set up. We're going to get you back up quickly and go from there. We are in that age right now. And if we're not really going to recognize that as being part of the government, we're doing some old, we might as well wear wigs and be like Parliament in fucking the 1700s or in Britain. It makes no sense. Everything that's being attacked right now is based on technology and information. The only reason why Trump really won is because they got the data. They were able to use companies to get data, to know who to talk to. Then the data was manipulated with the media. There's too much. We're being attacked. We attacked Iran and fucked up their nuclear stuff because we use technology for them. They're hacking us while we're hacking them, but it's so small. We're just doing it on small levels with hacker, consultants. We need to be building an infrastructure like that.
I would say, it's more concentrated. It's like the military, because I think the federal level, the military has a bunch of Edward Snowdens, people smarter than him, that just they can infiltrate anywhere in the world, in China or Russia. They have those people getting stupid money, just going crazy in the military and on the federal level. But there's no like I feel like there's people in Silicon Valley that are far more advanced than what we have in the military. In my opinion, I don't really know, but I'm just kind of, that's just it just seems obvious how we're getting hacked everywhere, and to push it off onto what's going on with this whole social media deal, and you got Mark Zuckerberg in his hearing right now in front of Congress, and and I think for 2 days too, and he's sitting there answering the stupidest questions. I don't know how much you guys have heard on this hearing, but it's what I got out of that. At first, I thought maybe that the Congress would be asking these questions, like serious questions, like how could you just give away so much information to Russia and to random companies? Instead, the questions are, are you showing people the terms of agreement? Are they agreeing to this? And then he's like, yeah, of course they are. They see it. And then they're like, okay, well, do they have access to archiving all their data? And then, can they take it if they want to? And he's like, yeah, we already have that. And then they're asking all these questions. There was a story actually on The Daily, which is the podcast I listen to, New York Times. And they went question by question, asking Mark Zuckerberg, and he's like, yeah, we already have that. Every question was, yes, we have that. Yes, we have that. Yes, we have that. And then it was just to the point that even like the reporters in the room are like, okay, the problem isn't Mark Zuckerberg. The problem is the government has no idea what the fuck Facebook is.
Like they're dopes. They're dopey face ass motherfuckers.
They're fucking idiots.
Yeah. They have no idea what it is. They're like, so since you're listening to our conversations on your Facebook when I message somebody, then how come you can see all my information? And he's like, first of all, we don't read your information, but we know you're talking to someone. He was trying to break it down on a simpler level, like their stories with their questions were just like they were so flawed, almost like they were asking questions about something they had no idea.
I mean, they were truly asking arbitrary things that they didn't realize that, yes, when we say we're going to be on Facebook, we agreed to a lot of shit. Now, what they asked them yesterday, and this is how data is really fucking manipulated to the point that, and it's so quick. They asked them yesterday, would you give people the address where you're staying at the hotel? He's like, no. Would you, you had a conversation last week. Are you willing to tell us what that conversation consists of? And he was like, no. He said, but that's what you did. You gave other people's information up. So the next day he turned around and said, of the 85 million people, mine was accessed as well. So you asked me yesterday, would I do it? Hey, they access mines too. So I'm just like everyone else. So that shuts them up, because that was a stupid question. It was a gotcha question, but because it's Facebook and they data mine all our shit anyway, he can say that. And how do you know he's telling the truth? He can tell them that, and they have no proof about that.
Yeah.
They can actually inject, because it's it's a code. All I have to do is add code to say my name shits in the list that's right there. And if they have somebody who really knows what the fuck they doing, they can say, no, this was inserted. Or, yep, his name is in there, so he was telling the truth. There's a lot of things that can be done, but they're asking what me and my wife sat there, and it would piss me off. I was like, even though they was asking them question, it's like what you were saying months ago, Chaz. All they was trying to do was shame him, because they wasn't going to do anything. It was all about just shaming him.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's where I should have came in. It's like, leave it to the professionals. You know what I'm saying?
Not the fucking amateurs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, amateur hour in fucking Capitol Hill. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna shame somebody, you don't invite them and ask them questions. You get some billboards. Like I would get some. If I was the government, I would just get some billboards and say, like, if you use Facebook, you support Russia. I would do some fucked up shit like that, or you know what I'm saying? Like, if they're trying to do it that way, then yeah, especially if you don't know what you're talking about, because he can just turn around, like you said, be like, oh, well, I'm a victim too. It's like, are you?
Chaz,
you know what I'm saying?
Do it the other way. If you do it the Trump way and say, when he gets here, if he don't give us the answer, we're going to shut down Facebook. You can't shut down Facebook, but you still can say it.
You know what? All right. So when I was listening to the podcast, the daily or whatever, they mentioned something that was actually really interesting. So Mark Zuckerberg, right? He CEO of Facebook. Mm-hmm. He runs a community that is how many billion? It's like 2 billion, almost 2 billion people,
around the world,
which is pretty much, which is pretty much his own country, And he runs all that, so many areas of messaging and marketing and just handling profiles and just different types of pockets of people in different areas of the world. And then he is sitting in front of a Congress that is supposed to be in charge of 300 million, if that, not even that, because, they're senators for their state. They don't understand that what they're talking about is bigger than them. You know what I'm saying? It's not as simple as cat and mouse and you're just chasing and saying, gotcha. It's like, no. You can get him all you want, but it's going to keep going. It's not even just Facebook. It's Instagram, it's Twitter. This is technology we're talking about, bro. It's like, they don't understand what what they should have had was fuck the senators talking to them, asking these questions, because what they're smart about is laws. They understand it as a lawyer. That's not what we're talking about. You should have some Silicon Valley people, some coders, like an IT guy, the leader of the GSA, like I was talking about. These people that actually run the technology. Get motherfucking Edward Snowden's boy. You know what I mean? That's actually in the government. Have them ask questions, and some shit that they put on TV. They realize it's just going everybody's head
that they know about. The people know about.
But that's what they should do. They shouldn't. They went into this wrong, because what happens now? I think Mark Zuckerberg actually looks all right. Like, it's kind of like, oh shit. Well, even Mark Zuckerberg didn't realize he's looking for answers. Like, well, why don't you fucking regulate this? Because this is what I created out of a fucking dorm room, and y'all over here asking me, how do you turn on Facebook?
So Zuck is doing the whole a dude gets caught cheating.
Yeah.
Like, why you fucking with that? Oh, so there's no trust in this relationship. There's no so blah blah blah. I can't get back to the community. You giving out dick in the community?
Put it back in the community. So it was wasteful to me, unless Congress is going to say, so based on this, we're not going to have you on the internet airways, or we're going to restrict you from doing this going forward. There was nothing to say to do something. When you say you're going to do something, I'm going to hold you to it, or there was no consequences. And it was kind of like, that's what bothered me. There was no consequences in any of that.
I think really both sides came out bad, because on one side, what's to say what happened again on Facebook? What's to say fake news hasn't changed? What's to say those problems they haven't been solved on Facebook side? And then on the other side, it just validates what people thought already. Like, a lot of people, people have been in Congress too long. You need to. It's not a lifelong job. Do a term, maybe do 2 terms, and get the fuck out of there. So when you're there, and you're really like, what, 3 generations behind. If you're in your 70s, technology was like, for you, was Atari, or at least it came up in the 80s, because it's just, from 80 to now, that's like 30 years. No, 40 years, from like 1980.
Almost.
No, I'm tripping. 30. No, that's 40, about to be. It's about to be 2018. That's like 38 years. Yeah. So if you get in Congress from around Carter or Reagan, it's like the 8-track, the record player, Atari. Are you serious?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Shit
there's
has
a
changed.
quote that I wrote down, because I heard it said it, and I didn't. I thought about it, and I was like, that's so true. It says you change behavior if you pay a penalty. If you don't pay a penalty, you won't change behavior. There's no reason for you to change it. They're not going to make Facebook stop. There's no penalty. The only penalty they're getting is just public shame and people's anger, but that's not going to last.
No,
that doesn't last long.
That's a great quote. And I think, Mike, on M3, the other podcast, we talked about my situation with work and everything. And when you get laid off, oh boy, shit does change. So, I started changing behavior after that just because of that situation. So I got to say, anything punitive, unfortunately, can be stronger than
I thought about that on everything that I kind of went through. I mean, that's absolutely right. When you pay for something that you did, right or wrong, and you kind of like, shit, I can't have this happen no more. Fuck that. And you always going to remember this is what happened, or I will continue to get penalized if I continue this same behavior. That's just going to change. It's just going to change. Even if it's to the positive, to say, you know what? They wouldn't promote me because I was just being lazy. You know what? I can't be lazy. I got to get on my shit. That's the penalty. You failed to get something that you thought you was eligible for or qualified for. But he sat up there. All he did was tell everybody, hey, look, my shit got fucked up along with yours. We're going to check on it. We're doing a lot of stuff. And then he took a dig at them and said, you know what? We know regulation is coming. So I think y'all really need to do it because this will help the privacy of everyone. Except for saying, I could have done this shit a long time ago. I could have. But I ain't fucking doing it. It's your job to do. So he pushed it off back on Congress to say, just regulate it, bro. Yeah.
But they don't know how to fucking, again, this is new frontiers. It's just, it's like when the fucking automobile first came out. Crashes. A lot of people had to die before they was like, man, we got to put some speed limits.
I'm okay with my horse, dog. I got 4 horses. I'm good.
And then crashes and, people were drinking and driving. Could you imagine motherfuckers had a Model T Ford and was fucking too many to drink?
Well, if you think about it, the same thing happened with the bank. The bank, after everything crashed, the whole the recession, or whichever one it was. When the banks were stealing everybody's, there was fake money out there, and then everything crashed. Wall Street was need to be regulated, and then they brought them into Congress, and then sat them down, and then it was pretty much the same thing. You got to do with Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan people all in Congress being questioned, like, what the fuck were you doing? And then they end up coming up with new laws that Obama put out that fast forward Trump,
that's being repealed right now.
That Trump is taking out. And that's why they're saying it's all going to happen again. It's the same kind of thing. They need to put some fucking First of all, they need to put regulations in there like we're talking about. That's like, actually, that should be the basics. Like, there should be a law that makes somebody like me and you not be able to go out there and just steal people's information, and then there's no law on it. And then they need to go ahead and make a police force out of it, or some kind of whole new department. Create some jobs out there at this motherfucker. But Trump don't want to build the government.
Make America great again.
America, So it's like they, and it's just a bunch of old people that don't understand how this shit actually works. They actually think you could just control it by saying no, don't do it. And it's like, nah, bro, I don't think you understand how this shit works. Like, there's a lot more happening, that you don't see. So it's just,
and you can hide it because it's technology.
They don't understand it
because it's code. It's fucking code. And I think we said this on a previous podcast that code should be taught in school, because even if you don't major in it, when someone say, hey, this is what happened to the data, you'll be like, shit. All they had to do is do this with code, and they'll know it. They don't have to do it, but they'll know it because that's a language that they understand. But these old farts don't know anything about code.
So it's kind of like, what's the chances of that being added to the curriculum? So again, that's why you have the fucking IT.
What's his name? Her crazy ass. All the fucking teachers is going on strike because they didn't have like a damn raise in 10 years. And then they're buying supplies for children. That's part of their goddamn money, man. And that really pissed me off. I'm sorry. I jumped kind of hard on that one, but it came in kind of hot.
That's a real thing too, man. I got some people that are friends, man. It's just,
like the shit was shocking. The story I read, like over 10 years, I think in Oklahoma, the teacher went from like 30,000 to 40. This is 10 years, and then she moved to Texas and got like a 20% raise just because of literally the state that you live in can make a huge difference. And it's just like I just couldn't imagine working someplace for 10 years and you go from 30 to 40. Like how can you live?
It's your family though. You got family, you got friends. That's where you was raised, and you care about what you do.
Fuck that! You better make some new friends. But we spend this whole episode talking about social media.
Chaz.
You better use some social media to make some new friends. Go to Eventbrite. Shit.
There you go. Thanks for joining us.
Tinder, whatever these fucking apps are.
I think that's just sad because that's who's teaching our children, man. And they're struggling, trying to do the right thing. And it's kind of like, come on now, 10 years? And they're having textbooks. These kids are coming out there with textbooks that's taped together and passed along for the last 10 to 15 years. They're not even updating the curriculum because they don't want to commit to education. And then you got the education secretary who's like, I don't know why they're doing it, but we're looking into it. She ain't looking into shit. I'm like, I can't stand that woman. But it is what it is. Join us next time on Repo when we talk about teachers, the EPA, and the raid on Michael Cohen's office. See you next time.